Wait a minute. Dang, 2021 is over. Well, actually, no. When I'm recording this, it's still a few days till 2022. So I'm still trapped here, So 2021 is over. No, actually, when I'm recording this, it's still a couple days till 2022. The Book of Boba Fett just came out today, and I have not watched it. Or was it yesterday? What is today? New year, new video. This is the first in a now annual series where I talk about the best and most interesting stuff that I watched in 2021. Well, the other years it'll talk about the other years. I'm not just going to be stuck on 2021 for every video. And that's assuming I don't lose interest in the idea next year. Who's to say? This is mainly focusing on 2021 movies, but also go over other interesting movies and shows I watched, and also non-movie releases. But yeah, this is a video. Let's go. Admittedly, I didn't watch a ton of stuff that came out this year, but I really like some of them. This is the top 3 best releases of 2021. I expect quality from Bo Burnham, but this new special honestly just completely blew me away, and I'm not going to talk about it too long because this thing absolutely blew up on the internet, much more than I was expecting, and I think it absolutely deserved every single bit of its popularity. The consistent creativity in the writing and especially directing throughout this whole thing is absolutely insane. I consider his last 2 comedy specials, What and Especially Make Happy, to be masterpieces, and that largely comes from how much they push the medium of stand-up comedy. But removing the live element and allowing himself to craft every aspect of the experience without the limitations of the stage really propels us into being something else, while still feeling like the total culmination of everything he's done before. It's fantastic. Also gives the best look at the creative process I've ever existence. It does. The Beatles Get Back is nothing short of magic. The novelty itself would be enough to carry this for the, 6-8 hour runtime that it has. But just all around, Get Back is one of the best and most intimate looks at the creative process, and it's greatly benefited by that long runtime because you get to see all the peaks and valleys of them creating these now legendary songs. There's a really strong effect in being compelled by just the mundanity of it all, only to see that magic moment where Get Back or Don't Let Me Down comes into form as we've known it for fucking ever. Okay, no cursing. It's priceless. Yeah, this movie. These last few years, we've seen so many franchises and series come to a point of total culmination and climax. And then there's the new Evangelion movie, which just comes to this level of completion and awareness and, I guess for lack of a better word, peace. And it does all that in a way that, as pretentious as this sounds, I think it transcends the medium of film entirely and becomes more of this collective piece between creator and viewer. And to a point, that's what all films are, but this felt like something else. I'm sorry you cannot talk about this series without sounding pretentious. I'm doing my best. No, I don't think it's a perfect film, and while I still find Hideaki Anno's directing to be incredibly impressive, I think this movie just operates and cuts to the need and want for art on the scale of a whole life, rather than just being a film that you're consuming as just another one for the watch list, if that makes sense. I don't know, that movie was good. Those 3 aside, there were other movies I very much loved this year. Last Night in Soho met my very high expectations for a new Edgar Wright film. His films usually feel very Edgar Wright, but this movie felt a little disconnected from all that, and I mean that in the best way possible. This felt less like another Hot Fuzz or Baby Driver in the chamber, and more like him stepping aside to more serve the story as it exists, rather than totally dominating it from its core, and I think that was an awesome change of pace, and I liked it a lot. Spider-Man No Way Home, what a surprise that one was. I got super excited for Far From Home and didn't like that one at all. I was so cautious going into No Way Home, and it was just like the perfect Spider-Man movie, or at least the perfect Spider-Man movie for when it's coming out in the series that it's in. No spoilers, but so much happens in this movie, and it all feels perfectly balanced and satisfying. Or at least for as much as it can be for the story that it's telling. The main conflict of the whole film is entirely focused around Peter's growth and morality, and all the madness that happens around it is complementary to it rather than distracting from it. And I think that's really what elevates it from feeling like it's pandering to the fans or just being another MCU movie. I thought it was amazing. No Time to Die was an absolute blast to watch in the theaters. This movie got delayed what seemed like a dozen times, and I guess that paid off. It really feels like a movie that had... It really feels like a movie that had work put into it, if you get what I mean. Like from the visuals to the acting to the directing to the performances to the action. It all feels like the entire crew is putting in that extra effort to make this something special and one of the best Bond movies, and it totally works. Squid Game. I mean, are y'all sick of hearing about this one yet? I was totally disconnected from the hype of this. I just knew there was this new show, and people said it was good. I watched it, and shit, it was good. Franchise stuff. In the MCU, well, other than Spider-Man, I watched Loki. I thought that was great. Also watched WandaVision and Shang-Chi. And I'm lumping those two together because I feel like they both had fantastic elements and moments, but neither of them really stuck that landing. Dune. Dune. I read the book this year and it's great, go figure, and the movie was pretty much as good as an adaptation of the first half of Dune gets. I mean, all the cool stuff is in the second half, so... The Suicide Squad is a blast, the Snyder Cut was absolutely insane. I've never been a fan of his movies, but I really enjoyed it and I am so glad it exists. And on that note, I thought Army of the Dead was a decently fun time, it looked kinda cool. I enjoyed The Bad Batch a lot. That's the Star Wars thing this year. Again, I'm recording this and the Book of Boba Fett is either just out or not out yet, because I don't remember what day this is or what day it comes out, but I think it's out today. What else? Bad Trip was really fun. Annette was really weird and not my cup of tea, but I'm glad it exists. Adam Driver specifically gives probably one of the best performances of the year in that movie. Godzilla vs. Kong was probably the most disappointing movie. And Cherry was the worst. Honestly, there were so many movies I wanted to see this year, but I never got the chance, so I guess I'm going to spend next year doing that, or I guess by the time you're watching it this year, but next year. The year after the first episode of the Book of Boba Fett airs, whenever that is. This whole time, I've been joking about how I don't know what day it is, and I legitimately did not know what day it was, but the clock's right there. I literally just could have looked right there. It's the 29th. I saw so much great movies and shows this year, man. Lynch, David, I went through his whole filmography. Learned a lot. I want to do a video about all of them someday, probably just in one video, but for right now, I just thought most of it was amazing. Twin Peaks: The Return is probably the greatest thing I've ever seen, or something like that. Watch Twin Peaks, and also while you're at it, watch Inland Empire. It's on YouTube, no excuses. It's a fun movie. Fleabag is a show, not a movie, but it's one of the freshest things I've seen in forever. Beyond the wit and intelligence of the writing, there's also just some incredible directing and probably the smartest use of the fourth wall I've ever seen in anything. It just creates something so specifically unique and fresh that it just makes you excited about the medium again. And it's funny too, great show. Wong Kar-wai movies. I watched Fallen Angels, Chungking Express, and Happy Together this year, and I enjoyed all of them. Wong Kar-wai's movies, both from his directing and his cinematographer, has such a strong command over mood and texture that even when I'm not invested in a moment or the story, it's still completely magnetic to watch. Chungking Express specifically has just become one of my favorite movies, and I really hope to finish his filmography this year when you're watching it. Opposite to the kinetic texture of Wong Kar-wai, I watched a few Ozu movies. I watched An Autumn Afternoon and Floating Weeds. That's a couple, not a few. I would have liked to watch more, but you kind of have to be, or at least I kind of have to be, in a very specific mood to really get the most out of an Ozu movie. And that's simply for how mundane they are, which is their greatest strength, but I just don't want to watch one every day, you know? I tend to really love and appreciate Ozu's movies after they've sat with me for a few days or sometimes even weeks. And that's specifically true for An Autumn Afternoon because I don't think you really realize how much he's throwing at you until after you've processed it all, because it never really calls attention to the fact it's throwing stuff at you. Throwing's not the right word. It's more like speaking softly in your direction and hoping you notice. That's an Ozu movie. The words and images of Ozu's movies are simple and direct, yet powerful in how you digest them subconsciously after you've watched it. They feel so mundane when you're watching them, and then a week later you suddenly realize, oh, that was one of the best movies I've ever seen. The feeling never gets old. Shiva Baby is a 2020 release that I watched at the beginning of 2021, and it's a really impressive showcase of how seemingly basic cinematography can become so effective and tense just through smart focal length decisions and incredible blocking. And on top of that, the script shows such a great understanding of brevity and pacing. This is such an hour and 20 minute long movie. It's great. I watched some French films, that's the necessity, right? My favorites were definitely those directed by Agnes Varda? I don't know, I'm not French. Thank God. I'm not going to pronounce these French words, okay? This one, I think I'm going to be putting the poster to my left. It uses color and its presence in one of the most simplistically effective ways I've ever seen. And I won't spoil why that was, you just gotta watch it. And then Vagabond probably became my new favorite French film. It looks incredible and it blends a certain coldness yet with a sincere wisdom, and I just find it so interesting. I'm not there. It drags a bit, but it takes such great advantage of being a movie about Bob Dylan that it's barely about Bob Dylan, and I think that's just the best thing in the world. Lastly, the best movie I watched this year that wasn't Evangelion or David Lynch was Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. You would think that a movie that takes place entirely in a POW camp would be a bit of a drag. Well, it is for the characters, but we get one great movie out of it. The dynamics of the time and environment that the movie takes place in, it sets the stage for some of the most well laid out human and philosophical discussions I've ever seen in any movie. And it being set in World War II allows it to get visceral and passionate without really feeling corny or trite. The three performances at the core of the movie are just so ridiculously well realized and nuanced, and all so complementary to each other, it just benefits what is already a pretty great script on its own. The directing itself is mostly really subtle, but it pulls together these great performances and this great script in a way I don't think any other director could have in the way that this guy did here. I really should have looked up his name. Akira Kurosawa called this one of his favorite movies, and if my recommendation isn't enough, listen to that guy. I've heard he's pretty good at movies. Alright, I'm not Anthony Fantano, and y'all aren't here for my music takes, but one of the things I tried to do this year was expand my music taste all around, and I did. 2021 video focused on 2021. Lots of artists I already really liked had new albums this year, my favorite of which was, and these were my favorite songs that came out this year. I'm doing this because I intend to put them there in editing. Video games. Yeah, what a wacky year this was for those. I didn't really play anything that came out this year. I played the Battlefield 2042 open beta and then the free Steam weekend. Did I have fun? I played a lot of Team Fortress 2 off and on. Do people still care about Team Fortress 2? I know Valve doesn't. Oh shit, I need to have these prepared. Ugh. Camera, don't you dare stop recording. I read some books. Room to Dream by David Lynch and Christine McKenna. I enjoyed every single sentence of this book. If Chins Could Kill by Bruce Campbell. This book is very funny and has lots of great movie-making mundanity. And there's also some great stuff about Sam Raimi in here, so if you're a fan of him, this is also a book is still worth reading. Rashomon and 17 Other Stories by Akutagawa. This is a collection of short stories, the first two of which were adapted into Kurosawa's Rashomon, which is a movie I also watched this year and was quite good. As you get deeper into this book and the stories become more autobiographical and at some points even feeling more like a diary entry than a short story, it gets completely and utterly depressing. The final story in this book, titled Spinning Gears, is horrifying on one, but it's also just one of the most vivid and incredible things I've read. But if you just want charming period stuff, this book also has that, so. Rebel Without a Crew by Robert Rodriguez. I had heard from many places that this is a central reading for any filmmaker, and it is. Beyond being practical and insightful and how to make a lot with a little, this is just generally one of the most entertaining and even funny books that I read this year. Even taking my interest in filmmaking out, I think Rodriguez's humor and personality would be enough to carry this book. The part of the book where he gets to Hollywood had me so entertained and engaged, I completely forgot I was reading this to learn about filmmaking. It's great. Watch his movie El Mariachi first, though. I also watched it this year, and this book will make a lot more sense if you've seen it. In terms of non-reading, non-film, TV, game stuff, I think Germa has really gone far enough to prove that streaming can be considered art house. Yeah, so I ditched YouTube and Twitter for the majority of 2021, which was a great call, by the way. That's not sarcasm. This is sarcasm. But anyways, I'm back at this now, and I have a much more solid direction and idea for what this channel is going to be. My main focus for 2022 is going to be writing and making short films and putting them on this channel. You're telling me I have to actually make films to put the films in Damien in Films? Anyways, not everything I write will be a short film. I might even share a few short stories that I've been working on, but yeah, that's the goal. The point is, I'm going to be focusing on making my own stuff rather than making stuff about other people's things, but I do want to turn this more into a general film appreciation channel rather than pumping out 20-minute long video essays about why this random movie is the greatest thing ever made. Your time will come soon. The Rise of Skywalker. I did that video recently about that short film that I made, and when I'm writing this, I haven't finished that video yet. When I'm recording this, I have, but I'm just going to talk about the perspective of when I was writing this, because he's telling me what to do. So I don't know how that's turned out. I do. But I want to do stuff like that alongside videos about other movies. Right now, I'm planning to do one about Rian Johnson's directorial debut, Brick. I'm planning for that to be like 5 minutes long, and I want to do videos like that are just more short, bite-sized. This thing is cool about this movie. That's the plan. If you like it, subscribe. Also, I have a short film or two lined up, although one I was going to put out in mid-January. I can't film till mid-January, so it might come out in like early February or something. And hell, between all that, I might even make random non-film videos. Sometimes Damien in Films isn't even Damien in Films, it's just Damien. One day I'm just gonna rank all the Beatles albums, and you can't stop me. So if any of that sounds interesting, go ahead, subscribe. I already said that, but that wasn't written. What I just said was written, so see ya.